Can a simple decision to change cylinder head material decide who will dominate Formula One in 2026? Stay, because what Ferrari has just done is revolutionary or suicidal. Subscribe to continue uploading more of this type of content now if we continue. Friday, January 16th, 2026. As the Maranello facilities woke up amid a light winter fog, the silence was broken by something never before heard. It wasn't a V12 on the verge of cutting, nor was it the familiar drone of a modern V6 hybrid. It was a new sound, uncertain, full of history, but also of the future. At that moment, in the heart of the Gestione Sportiva, the Ferrari 2026 engine came to life for the first time. And with it, the hope of an entire team, of an entire fan base was also ignited, and of two drivers who have bet everything on this project, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. They were there in person, not because they had to be. They were there because they wanted to be part of that moment, because they knew that what they were about to hear was more than a simple engine start. It was a symbol, a declaration of intent, a turning point. This is not just another project. This is the project. Project 678 is not just about winning races. Seek to write a new story. And like any good story, it has heroes, it has risks, and it has something that most teams have lost in the modern era of Formula One: bravery. In that moment, in that garage where everything rumbled for the first time, something invisible was sealed. A pact, an emotional connection between men, machines, and dreams. Because when the roar of a new engine gives world champions goosebumps, you know that what is coming is not just competition, it is history. What Ferrari presented in Maranello was not simply another evolution of its previous engine. It was a deliberate transgression of everything Formula One has considered conventional over the past few decades. To understand the magnitude of the change, it is necessary to look in detail at the choice that has generated the most controversy inside and outside the paddock. Ferrari has replaced aluminum with steel in the cylinder heads. This decision, although seemingly technical and specific, contains an ideological statement. Ferrari is not seeking to adapt. You are looking to lead. For more than 40 years, aluminum cylinder heads were a constant in Formula One engineering. Lightweight, efficient in heat dissipation, and easy to manufacture with millimeter precision, aluminum was the undisputed choice. But that era ended. The 2026 technical regulation has forced all manufacturers to rethink from the ground up the way their power units are built. One of the most challenging factors is the introduction of 100% sustainable fuels with a chemistry that generates significantly higher internal pressures and never-before-seen temperatures inside the cylinders. Under these extreme conditions, aluminum begins to show its limits. Its tendency to thermally deform, even minimally, alters the shape of the combustion chamber. And when it comes to an engine operating on the brink of explosion, a deformation of microns can translate into a critical loss of efficiency. This is where the steel comes in. Stronger, more dimensionally stable, and able to maintain its shape even under extreme heat spikes. Its main disadvantage is its weight. And in Formula One, weight is the enemy of speed. It is estimated that this decision adds around 30 kilograms to the power unit. 30 kilos that in another context would be unacceptable. But Ferrari, after months of internal simulations, endurance tests, and joint development with Austrian giant AVL, concluded that the sacrifice was worth it. It was not an impulsive decision. It was the result of a technical analysis where thermal performance, structural rigidity, and durability intersected at a point that could only be supported with steel. This change allows Ferrari to work with a combustion chamber whose geometry remains constant throughout an entire race, even when pushed to the maximum each lap. And that stability has a direct impact on the thermal efficiency of the engine. An engine that maintains its ideal shape not only generates more power per unit of fuel, but also maintains that performance longer, lap after lap, without degrading. However, this development was not accepted with immediate enthusiasm. Even within Ferrari, there was a division. For much of 2025, the team maintained the development of two paths in parallel: a traditional version with aluminum cylinder heads as technical insurance, and this risky but promising steel architecture. The doubts were reasonable. The 2026 calendar includes 24 races, and with only 4 engines per driver allowed throughout the season, each unit needs to exceed 6,000 kilometers without failure. It was a real risk. The decisive intervention was that of AVL. Their high-fidelity simulations and their knowledge of high thermal stress materials allowed them to isolate the real problem. It was not the idea of steel that was failing, but the type of alloy used in the first prototypes. From that discovery, Ferrari and AVL developed a new specific alloy with unique characteristics: high resistance to deformation, excellent thermal conductivity, and an unusual tolerance to rapid thermal cycles. It was a leap in quality, not just a correction. Once this solution was implemented, the results were so convincing that Ferrari made the bravest decision of all, eliminating the aluminum option completely. They bet everything on steel. They closed the door to the safe path. They opted for the most difficult path, because they knew that if this idea worked, they wouldn't just have a different engine. They would have a weapon that the rest of the grid was nowhere near understanding, much less replicating. Is not a simple choice of materials. Is a technical manifesto. Ferrari has decided that it does not want to follow the path of others. He wants to draw a new one, and it has done so with one of the riskiest, most expensive, and most revealing decisions in its entire recent history. To understand the magnitude of the change that the Ferrari 2026 engine represents, you have to look beyond its materials. The true heart of this revolution is not only in the steel, but in the very philosophy of how power is produced in a Formula One car. Starting in 2026, Formula One not only changes its technical regulations, it changes its soul. The hybrid architecture of the new generation completely redefines the balance between the thermal engine and the electric component. Until now, in the current scheme, more than 70% of the power came from an internal combustion engine, a turbocharged V6, while the electrical system offered support of approximately 30%, largely conditioned by energy recovery limitations. But in 2026, that model breaks. The goal is no longer to maximize thermal power. The objective is to combine it almost equally with electrical power in a relationship close to 50-50ths. The new regulation requires that cars operate with a system that represents a true balance between combustion and electricity. And that changes everything. Ferrari has kept the 1.6-liter V6 as required by the regulations, but has done so with a complete redefinition of its role. This thermal block, which was previously the dominant part of the car, now becomes a balanced actor within a larger system. Its power is limited to about 540 horsepower, much less than what they delivered in previous years. However, the truly revolutionary thing is in the MGUK, the electrical component responsible for recovering and deploying kinetic energy. This MGUK has not only been enhanced, it has been transformed. It goes from generating 120 kilowatts to 350 kilowatts, an impressive figure that translates into approximately 475 electric horsepower. In other words, the same level of thrust as a Formula E car now integrated and synchronized with a Formula One car that also has a thermal engine. The result, a combined power that is around 1,050 horsepower, but that is delivered in a radically different way than what we have known. The big difference is not in the number, but in how and when that power is delivered. In 2026, Ferrari cannot rely on the classic continuous push of the heat engine. The deployment of electrical energy becomes key, both in terms of acceleration and in strategic race management. The car is no longer just a speed machine. It is an energy management machine. And this is where the most profound change comes in. The MGUH has been removed. This component, which allowed thermal energy to be recovered from the turbo gases, was a technological marvel. But it was also an obstacle to adoption by conventional manufacturers. Expensive, complex, and difficult to maintain, it had no direct application in street cars. Its disappearance forces a total reconfiguration of how energy is recovered on the track. Without MGUH, Ferrari can no longer rely on heat. You only have one option left: kinetics. Brake, take your foot off the accelerator, decelerate at strategic points. And there, extract every thousandth of available energy to store it in the battery and reuse it with maximum efficiency. To adapt to this, Ferrari has developed a kinetic recovery system that reaches rates never seen before, between 8 and 9 megajoules per revolution, well above the 2 MJ that set the limits in the first hybrid era. Ferrari has understood this better than anyone, and for that reason, its 2026 engine does not seek to be the most powerful in peaks. Seek to be the smartest. Its bench tests have shown a linear, predictable, and extremely controlled power delivery. There are no sudden explosions. There are no violent thrusts that wear out the system. There is efficiency. There is continuity. There is consistency. That approach also allows for a cleaner design. By not having to deal with the extreme thermal challenges of the MGUH, Ferrari has optimized its power unit in terms of packaging, cooling, and mass distribution. This translates into aerodynamic freedom. And in a sport where airflow efficiency can be worth more than 50 extra horsepower, that freedom becomes tactical advantage. Subscribe to continue uploading more of that content. Now you really think about all this.